Good evening, everyone. It's Necro Thursday. Welcome to the Necromaniacs Horror Podcast. How's it going, Mike?
It is going well. We have survived the Arctic blast of last week, and today is like a nice steamy 30-something degrees in the New York, New Jersey area, huh, Mike?
24. Yeah, we survived that. Yep.
Yeah, it was cold as hell last week, but you know what? It is January and it is winter, and all these people who were complaining the last 2 or 3 winters about how we haven't had a real winter in years, and well, I think we're going to get that real winter that everyone wanted so badly, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Sunday, I didn't even leave the house. I just stayed inside the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you got your food and your movies and everything you need, there really kind of was no reason to leave the damn house. But I had a good weekend. It was Joe Porfido, his birthday, and a bunch of us went out to eat at a Brazilian restaurant in the city. Me and Stella went, and it was a good old time.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was, the Inhuman guys, and I tell you, man, it's good to maintain friendships of if you have had a band for as long as I have, and one of my bands, Inhuman, has been together. Next year will be 30 years. Um, it is good to be friends with your bandmates, like I've always found it like a good thing that like these are people that I want to fucking hang out with and spend time with, and not just, you know, go to band practice with. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, for the most part, I've stayed friends with guys I played in bands with. There's like
Mhm.
a couple bad eggs here and there, but
Yes.
what are you gonna do? But mostly, I mean, Andrew Hernandez, who played in Tombs for a number of years, he and I are really tight, and
Yeah.
he played on Scorpion Throne, like the project I
Hmm.
did, which I'm going to do more work on that project in the coming year. But
Nice.
yeah, Andrew and I stayed friends. Like most of the guys that have played in the band, I'm friends with still,
Hmm.
and the guys I'm currently playing with are awesome dudes. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like look, as far as bad eggs, hey man, I've got a couple bad eggs. There are people that I never want to see again, but that is life, That such is life, as they say. But yeah, aside from that, low key due to the weather, I guess. Haven't done much. Haven't really seen many shows. I feel like nobody's out there just yet. I feel like January is a little slow, no?
I haven't gone to a show at all this month. As you know, and some of you out there listening know, I'm going to be out on the road in a few weeks, so that's going to
Mhm.
make up for the lack of shows. And
Hmm.
in the month of January, I was seeing Nunslaughter and Profanatica every night for 2.5 weeks. So
Right. By late February, early March, it kicks off. When's it kick off?
it kicks off on the 13th of February
Oh, yes, that's right. Mid-February.
in
Cool, cool.
Providence, Rhode Island, one of my favorite cities.
Yeah. The H.P. Lovecraft home, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, the last night of the tour hits Brooklyn, so I will certainly be there for that. Should be fun. But
That's
yeah, I
awesome
mean,
because normally it's like in the last couple tours we've done, the tour starts in like Albuquerque and like ends in like LA or something like that. So it's like it's kind of nice that we're starting in Providence and ending in New York. So that's very nice. I appreciate that.
no, that's definitely great for you guys for sure. And I believe Profanatic is based in like the Connecticut-ish area, so it's probably good for them too. But
Metal
yeah,
Archives, they're based from one town over from where I grew up, actually.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. New York, and I think some members were also CT as well. Kind of like that, you know, stone's throw kind of thing. But other than that, like I think well, a little later in the year, later in the winter, is the Decibel tour with Holder on it, which I want to see, and that's kind of the only band on that bill I want to see is Holder, the headliner. So that should be cool. That's I think mid March or whatever. By the time it hits New York. But I guess the year is young, and I'm sure that there'll be more you know metal tours announcements along the way. I would gather, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we're only like a few weeks into the year, so.
Totally, totally. But on the viewing front, uh, real quick before we do the plugs, of course, and the phone call, I am, you know, neck deep, or should I say shin deep in Sopranos. I'm in the middle of season two. First rewatch, literally since the only rewatch as the show unfolded many moons ago. And I gotta say, um, season one can be very rough at times, but by the time you hit towards the end of season one into season two, it's like, I mean, the show is fucking fantastic. I feel.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't know how many times I've seen that entire series. It's something I've like rewatched that multiple times. And I mean, my girlfriend Tina is like is an expert on The Sopranos. You know,
Nice.
being a Jersey native, she's
Mhm.
a lot of those locations were like basically in her backyard for where she grew up. So it's kind of
That's
she's like
great.
an expert on that whole thing.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. I mean, it's some of it feels like it's 40 years old sometimes, instead of 25 years old, 20 years old. But I am enjoying it nonetheless. It's been my what I watch before I go to bed for the last few weeks, so I've got quite a ways to go. But I am enjoying that. Yeah. What about you?
I've been deep into Curb Your Enthusiasm, man. The Larry, Larry David.
Yes.
It, I'm a late comer to that, man. I'm like a late bloomer with Curb, and I'm
Mm,
totally into it, man. And the new season kicks off in shortly, like in a
very
couple weeks.
soon. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so we're rounding out. We're like in the final stretch of that entire thing, and I gotta be honest, dude. I love it. It's great. We've been on this kind of journey for like the last couple weeks.
That's a show. Honestly, like, is there a bad episode of Curb? I don't think there is a bad episode. Like, they're all like, I mean, some of them you can laugh so hard you'll throw up. But even ones that are not as amazing are still great. Like, I don't know, it's just levels of greatness, much like Marduk records. There's levels of greatness. I think they're all pretty damn great.
Oh, yeah, totally. Now it's funny. Speaking about tours, no word about the Marduk tour that
Hmm.
that's being there's been talks of them coming back to the States since 2020, man, and no sight of those guys.
Well, I mean, there is a show book. They are on Milwaukee Metal Fest in May, which is very strangely just a week or two before MDF, which it has got to be, I mean, I guess there are people that'll do both, but it's an expense if you're not living in the Milwaukee area. It's a bit of an expense to go to the Milwaukee Metal Fest. They are on that, but yeah, there are no other dates at all announced, and we're almost in February. I mean, look, hey, they could announce something in February for May and June, right? That would be fine. But
I'm
I
gonna
feel
go
like
out on a limb.
lately, mm,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say February is not happening.
no, like a February announcement for like a May tour. You don't
Yeah.
even think that that's gonna no.
I kind of a little bird told me that May's not happening too. So just
Oh my God,
little
no.
bird told me in that. Yeah.
Well, look, we I'm sure there are people listening to this that are going to Milwaukee Metal Fest and are probably looking forward to seeing Marduk, and we're gonna cross our fingers that they play the single show, and I guess we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, the plot's thickening with that. So yeah.
mm. Ay, 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 man. Um, but yeah, it is funny that I just used them as an example. Like I was gonna say like Cannibal Corpse. I mean, there's no bad records. They're just varying degrees of how good it is. Although some may disagree with us on that take as well, but that's just how it is. Uh,
Actually, as we speak, I'm wearing a matching Cannibal Corpse sweatpants and zip up sweatshirt outfit right now, ensemble.
wow, very cool.
Completely by accident.
Yeah, I can't see Mike right now, so yeah, that is pretty random. Yeah, I've been on like a what a surprise 90s death metal tear. Um, of like the of not the marquee bands, the right below the marquee, like your Unleashed and your Sinisters, and I've been listening to Edge of Sanity a lot, and I've been listening to that kind of stuff lately. I don't know, it's been like definitely floating my boat. Uh, you know, that's the great thing about death metal. There's so much to choose from. There's different eras and different levels and time periods. It's since it's like 30 plus years old, it's like you can go to so many different places with it now.
Definitely. And I love the blackened death metal sound too. That's like one of my favorite
Mm.
styles.
Oh, you're kind of like your dissections and your sacramentums and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's
But
cool.
there's also just that super evil, cavernous, incantation inspired death metal too, like your grave miasmas and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, no, that stuff is great. Totally, totally. Um, yeah, it's my Spotify. So I've made the switch. I left Apple Music and joined 2019, and I'm now a big Spotify person. And it's already kind of feeling me out and knows kind of what I want, and it makes like some of those playlists for you, and it's just so much good death metal stuff and black metal stuff, and I just like the ease of it as opposed to the Apple. I don't know. The Apple Music was a little. It's just not laid out the same, and it just wasn't as intuitive. I don't know.
I play around with both. I don't pay for Spotify, but I use it pretty frequently though.
Right, right. Yeah, I killed my pay Apple and upped my Spotify to from free Spotify to pay Spotify. So that's what I did.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I've been listening to Sinister's Cross the Sticks. That's some good ass shit. That's some not for wimps death metal. Love it. um, Aside from that, I think it is time for the plugs, and we have a return of one of our favorite podcasts, Mr. Hill. We have to call it to attention.
So starting the week off, of course, we've got Brandon Legion, Harwolf 666. And
Mhm.
this past week, we have the return of Jackie Smith and
Yes.
into the necrosphere. He's back from his safari in
Yes.
South Africa. So
You know what? It wasn't vacation. It is almost just like saying safari instead of vacation. It's like, because like vacation is like a week or 2 weeks, This was more than that. This was like a journey, I feel
yeah,
like.
journey. Yep.
He's back from his journey. But yes, welcome back, Jackie. We missed you. Yeah, and of course, as you said, it's into the necrosphere. That's on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have the mothership, Mike Hill's very own Everything Went Black. And who's going to be on by the time the folks hear this episode for next week?
Well, Ralph Schmidt and I get together.
Mhm.
Ralph has taken was on a little bit of a hiatus,
Mhm.
but he's back in full force, and we he joins me this week, and we talk about who our definitive Dracula is.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
going to be a good one.
yeah, that's gonna be a nice episode, and
Mm.
and of course we talk about another subject that's gonna come up later when we start doing the phone calls. Of course, True Detective, but
Yes.
yeah, it's always a blast talking to Ralph.
Yeah, he's cool, man. I'm looking forward to that Dracula episode. Something tells me I know who someone's number one is, but I'm going to keep it under my hat. On Thursday, while you're listening to it right now, it is the Necromaniacs podcast, the greatest horror podcast of all time in the history of podcasting. Coming to you on Friday, we have none other than my own brother, John Draper, with Spitball Media. Be sure to check out Spitball Media. Uh, coming to you every single Friday. On Saturday, you get the day off. I know it's a little cold, but go out and get some fresh air. But on Sunday, who do we have, Mike?
That cover art brings a dull knock. That's anything dark or macabre that's falls within the wheelhouse of Carl. And Carl and I have been doing continuing our Darkness Weaves project collaboration where we get into the work of Carl Edward Wagner. And we finished up our exploration of In a Lonely Place. And now we've moved on to the Kane stories. And if you're a fan of Conan or just sword and sorcery in general, the Kane stories are particularly interesting because it's Kane's like this immortal, like sword swinging magician, basically sorcerer.
Nice.
A bit of an anti-hero and incredibly well written short stories and a couple of novels by Wagner. And
Hmm.
Carl and I are getting into those now.
Excellent. Then we have our lone wolf podcaster, Mr. Cheyenne of Trivax, right, Mr. Hill?
Recently, I had Cheyenne on Everything Went Black too. We had a
That's
really
right.
good time. And
Hmm.
that's Iblis Manifestations. And he's got a really interesting show, covers a lot of ground, and you just got to pay attention. And when the time is right, you'll get an episode. Let's put it that
That's
way.
right. Hit that subscribe button. I saw that his band is doing dates with the mighty Diocletian, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, Diocletian, of course, are on nuclear war now, currently, and they have a new LP coming out this summer. They just dropped the a single and video from it, actually, on the Nuclear War Now Instagram page, and I imagine it's also on YouTube somewhere. And it was fucking really good. I don't know if you checked it, Mike.
I did. It's. I mean, I love Diocletian, and I'm looking forward to hearing the entire album this summer.
Yeah. They did one US set of dates 10 years ago in 2014, and I was fortunate enough to see them at MDF, and to me, they were one of the best bands at MDF that day. So hopefully, the 10-year mark will be a potential return to U.S. soil, huh? Would be nice, as they say. Um, how about we jump to the Necrophone?
Right. So if you want to call us and leave us a message, you can hit us at 908 913 0782 908 913 0782. And first up, we've got Mike from Pennsylvania.
Yo, Necro Hoods. It's Mike from Telford. It's on my way to work this morning. It's 5:22 a.m. I guess we're getting another shit show here sometime today. Just wanted to say hello, and we watched a movie last night called Private Parts. It's from 1972. It's not the Howard Stern classic. It's a Paul Bartel movie from the early 70s, and it was totally fucking bizarre and sleazy, and I fucking loved it. So I'm just curious as to what you guys thought about that. It's got horror elements for sure. It's got some really surprising things that happen in it. But I just felt like I needed a shower after watching it. So check that out if you get a chance. And this will be a quick message. Hope you guys are doing good. Look forward to next Thursday. This past Thursday was fucking fantastic. So later, fellas.
It's always great hearing from Mike. It doesn't
Yes.
seem like a complete week without him, actually.
I know. I get bummed when we don't hear that voice. He's got like that cool kind of like hard style voice, like a guy who probably would not want to get a punch from voice, Michael. Would you agree? Probably. That's just the vibe. That's the vibe I get. I would not want to take a punch from Mike from PA. I don't know. That's just the vibe I get. But he brought up a movie that sounds very interesting, Mike. Private Parts from 1972. I have heard of the name before, like the 70s movie Private Parts, but I've never seen this movie. Have you?
And I haven't even heard of it, actually, to be honest. I
Mm.
initially was thinking about the Howard Stern film,
Right.
and which is great, but this is I have the feeling that this is completely different. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here's the byline for this. Private Parts, 1972 American horror film from Paul Bartel in his film debut. It follows a troubled young woman who suspects a deviant serial killer living in her aunt's dilapidated hotel in downtown Los Angeles. The film has been noted for its stylistic mix of horror, dark comedy, and psychological thriller elements. Yeah, we might have to seek this one out, Mike. I don't know.
Sounds right up our alley. Maybe this is let's find out where it's streaming and see if we can check it out and maybe do an episode on it. Sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely sounds cool as shit. So I want to see this movie, even though the poster is a little kind of creepy. You can see the poster on the Wikipedia page. But yeah, thank you for that recommendation, Mike. Cheers.
Yeah, I would reckon that Vinegar Syndrome might have released this, maybe.
Maybe I would have to we have to do a little digging and checking on that, and of course, our listeners would keep us honest if they have.
All right, so next up we've got Braden from Vancouver, another returning listener.
Hmm.
Necromaniacs. This is Braden from Vancouver, Canada, calling. I just wanted to wish you guys happy, well, I guess sort of a late happy new year. I have a quick suggestion for a movie I'm sure you guys have probably already seen, but I feel like it does not get nearly enough appreciation or praise is Ken Russell's 1980 film Altered States. It's sort of in the body horror, psychological horror realm, and it's just this insane psychedelic trip, quite literally, of a movie. But plays with some really cool, interesting ideas, some insane imagery. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's also where Godflesh sourced the imagery for their cover art for Street Cleaner, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's what, ever since I've seen it for the first time, it just blows my mind it's not more um, ubiquitous because it's just so cool. And just also weird. It's a weird movie, even just down to some of the social interactions and camera choices and stuff. It's awesome. And I also wanted to get your guys' take on the recent announcement of James Wan kind of taking over this new push going forward covering H.P. Lovecraft material. Personally, I've never been a James Wan fan. I don't like his approach to horror, and I think he's overrated. And I do not think he's the one to do Lovecraft. I think it takes a little bit more subtlety, and I just have a feeling it's going to be focusing too much on jump scares and just a lot of the things that I can't stand about his films. But not to be a hater, but that's my opinion, and I'm curious what you guys think. I do think there's a lot of great fodder in Lovecraft for some great films, but I just don't think he's the one for it personally. But yeah, curious to hear what you guys think, and looking forward to another year of Necromaniacs episodes. And thanks for everything, guys. Take care.
And happy New Year to you, sir. It's
Yes,
never
yes.
too late to wish someone a happy New Year. So
Oh, our friend Larry David probably thinks the cutoff is at about January 10th, I would say. I think he might even say it's January 5th. However, I think the entire month of January is a go.
yeah, totally. And yeah, getting to some of his points. Definitely Ken Russell's 1980 Altered States, incredible movie. Big fan of that film. Mike, how do you feel about that movie? You seen it?
Okay, either I saw it so long ago that I've forgotten it, or I've never seen it, and I can't remember. So I need to fix that and see this movie because I know the movie. I remember the box cover, the movie poster. I know about the movie, but I just can't remember the movie itself. So I need to see this movie again or for the first time.
Oh, it's great. It's about like connecting with like the like pre-human hominid forms, and it's kind of a
Hmm.
psychedelic film, man. And I actually found the score on a vinyl a number of years ago, and I have that.
Oh,
And
nice.
yes, it's the street cleaner crosses are images taken from that movie. from
Oh,
Godfish.
then it's a must see. Okay, I have to. It's one of those movies I just got to plunk down and finally fucking see. Yeah, he also brought up something very interesting. That Hollywood has now deemed that James Wan is going to be handling the H.P. Lovecraft stuff. Within the Mouth of Madness coming out, I don't know, sometime later in 2024. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
I'm completely distraught by James Wan handling H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, he has his Saw connection, and Saw is Saw, but Saw is not H.P. Lovecraft. And what is that? Malignant is not H.P. Lovecraft. You know what I'm saying? His Aquaman is not H.P. Lovecraft either. I don't know. I don't know. Big question mark. That's all I gotta say. I mean, I
Sad
can't.
part. The sad part is that we had Richard Stanley, who was the perfect guy, but he had his controversies and
That's
is
it.
no longer
Yeah.
allowed to the party.
No, he is no longer allowed to the party. To put it mildly, I mean, I still follow him on Facebook. That guy posts on Facebook at least every other day or every day, once a day. And I feel like that guy's not doing shit. And I just almost feel bad for that guy. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know what even happened. And it's not my place to whatever, go on about something that I don't know a lot about. But I will say, I would have felt a little better with these movies in Mr. Stanley's hands. I'll say that. You know, I don't know.
Guillermo del Toro, I think, would have done a fine job.
Yeah, and didn't okay, wasn't he actually attached to the Mouths of Madness? And then I forget what studio it was. Wasn't really there was like I don't know if it was a money issue or if it was a we don't know what this is about kind of issue with one of the major studios or I don't know, but he was attached at one point. Yes.
Definitely. And I was excited about that. And then it just went away. And then I heard that James Wan is the man now. So that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Look. The first Conjuring and Insidious, fine, okay, but I don't think he's a guy that I would immediately think of to handle H.P. Lovecraft's stuff. Hey, I could end up eating my words, and this could be a good movie. But again, there are other people I would have thought that this would have gone to. Um, and I guess it's a big wait and see, right?
I check it out. I mean, if it's a Lovecraftian thing, I'll most likely see it. And then, we'll see what happens. And
Um,
lastly, we got Dave Razor Eater from
mhm.
Razor Eater Metal Instagram.
Hey, Necromaniacs. It's your buddy Dave Berardi over at Razor Eater Metal on Instagram. Just wanted to say hey. Hope you guys had a happy new year, great holiday. I'm just getting over a nasty head cold. So naturally that led me to some time where I could hunker down and watch some pretty cool stuff. Just wanted to share that with you guys, see if you guys were able to check any of this out. I ended up seeing the new episode of True Detective. That's a highlight, definitely. And I think it was great, actually. Kind of open-ended right now on if they're going to go supernatural or something like that. Because there's some stuff in there that led me to believe that they might take that direction. If they do, I hope they do it well because, I don't know. Either you do it well or you don't, right? So I guess we'll see. But I think Jodie Foster's really good in it. I think the storyline's pretty good, and I'd like to see where they're heading. So if you guys didn't get to check that out just yet, highly suggest you do. Also got to watch Mandy for the first time, so that was excellent. I can see why that's Brandon's favorite film of all time. Just the visuals in that, the colors, the cinematography, and of course, Nicolas Cage raging. It's excellent. I checked out Smile as well. I didn't think that was worth all the hype that it got the year it came out. I got to be honest. There was a couple of cool things about it, but not really for me. And I also checked out Allegoria by Spider One from the band Power Man 5000. I thought that was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed the storylines, enjoyed the visuals in that as well. And I think he's just an excellent storyteller. If you guys haven't checked that out, I highly recommend. I think it's on Shudder. And I saw it on YouTube, actually. Someone uploaded it. Both. I had a quick question for Mr. Scandato. I remember on a previous episode, he spoke about Killjoy, the death metal singer, and he saw the band The Ravenous. I think he said it was at CBGB's. I've been on a Killjoy kick lately, and I made an appreciation post for that band. And I was just wondering if, maybe you could go into a little more detail about that show or anything like that, any memories. Because it's an absolutely killer and underrated, supergroup of guys that made some killer death metal. So, if he wants to enlighten us with some stories from that night or anything like that, that'd be awesome. Other than that, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Always love it. Thanks for keeping us company on Thursday.
Thanks for calling back, Dave. Great hearing from you. And
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's talking about True Detective, man.
Totally. Mike and I chatted about it before the show got running. And we're up to episode 2 now, listeners. Episode 2 aired the other night by the time we're taping this. And my 2 episodes thoughts are I like it, but I'm not in love just yet. I'm not in love. I would say by the first 2 episodes of seasons 1, 2, and 3, I was in love. I think I was ready, up and excited and ready to go. But I feel like my opinion is in a little bit of the minority according to what I see on Instagram and Facebook, where everyone is just kind of drooling and tripping over it. It's a wait and see. I can't say other than the fact that I'm not loving it. I can't say much else because it has just begun, and I hope it gets better and better. But so far, I mean, the best thing about it is the setting. So far, is this, Arctic, Alaskan setting, which harkens back, of course, to The Thing, one of my favorite movies, and horror is a great setting. I mean, winter climates and snow, and is a great setting for horror. But I feel like that's one of my big pluses so far, and not much else. I got to be honest, not much else so far.
Story is cool, but what trips up the flow of the show so far is the characterization, I think. Like, there's like literally no subtlety with the characters, and in the
Mm.
first season, there's like layers and subtlety and all this great
Mhm.
dialogue too, and
Mm.
iconic scenes and I don't know, the dialogue and the writing, I think, is a little off right now, at least for the first 2 episodes.
Mhm.
But I think the concept for the story is interesting. They have by the season 2, there's tons of throwbacks where they're connecting it to the universe in season 1, like the Tuttle
Right. Episode. Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
Uh, Travis Cole, Russ's dad,
Mhm.
shows up.
Mhm.
There's the spiral. In the very first episode, there's a quote attributed to Hildred Castaigne, but that quote is not actually in the book. It's something that the Issa Lopez wrote and attributed to Hildred Castaigne, who is a character in Repairer of Reputations, one of the
Mhm.
stories that's in The King in Yellow.
Mhm.
And what's interesting about that is that he's the unreliable narrator. Like, he's a guy who's losing his mind, and the story he's telling you may or may not be true or might be warped by
Mhm.
his perspective. And I think that's going to play heavily into the storyline for this season. And I mean, I think people have said that already. Like, if you go on the YouTube and people talk about all these things, but
Mhm.
that's just my take on it. And there's going to be there's talk of oh yeah, Russ Cole is going to actually be in this season. I doubt that, honestly, but it'd be
I
nice.
doubt that too. Look, I do like the calls to episode to season 1. That's great, and totally, that's kind of exciting, obviously. Um, but you are right. I don't think the dialogue is that good. I don't think, like, I mean, look, the mood is there, but I don't know. Like I feel like it's not dark enough. Some of it. I don't. Am I? You know, like I don't know. Like I feel like there's a lot of this other ancillary crap already. You know, like the daughter's relationship. Like I don't. Do we
Don't
care
need
about
that.
that? Like, yeah, I
No.
did. Yeah, like I don't really care about that. And how much they'll explore that, I guess, remains to be seen. But I love Jodie Foster, but I just hope she gets better dialogue because I don't think her dialogue is that great so far. Um, and I like her character, who it seems like she has a lot of. Hopefully, they explore all the layers that I think are there. You know, just 2 episodes in. And I guess that remains to be seen. But I don't see. I don't want to come off as like a dick who's judging an entire series based on 2 episodes. But I don't know. I'm just being open and honest about the 2 episodes so far.
I mean, yeah,
And
I want to like it. I want it to be great.
yeah, hell yeah. I've been
Yeah.
looking forward to this, But
I was excited that Issa Lopez was involved, but it's
Mhm.
yeah, for the setting that it has, it's not bleak enough. Like there's no like I don't know, if you had to live in an environment like that where it's dark for 60 days,
Mhm.
and all this stuff was going on, like there's
Mhm.
just no feelings of anxiety. You don't get this sense of any kind of like intensity in the movie, in the show rather. And maybe that'll change as the plot
Right.
thickens.
At least not yet. Yeah, it's only a few days into the night or whatever. And again, hopefully that'll change. And this, who knows, this could end up being one of the best of the four.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
but yeah, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. So, and aside from that, Dave, yes, I got to see the Ravenous. I got the date June 10th, 2001 at the old CBGB's in Manhattan. And it was fucking awesome. I mean, the thing is, I actually, for a long time, kept a journal of every show I went to. And this show, I don't think is included because I kept it from like 88 to 2000 on paper, and this show was 2001. So I'm drawing a blank as to who else was on this bill. But I know it was a stacked bill with like death metal and black metal bands. If I could find out more, I will. But yeah, I will say it was great, and Killjoy was great, and you had Chris Ryford on drums and Dan Lilker on bass. They were fucking great. A few of these songs from this set are on YouTube, Michael. How about that?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and yeah, man. CB's, of course, known for its iconic hardcore shows. CB's had some very interesting metal shows too, some great metal shows, and this was one of them. So yeah, sometimes it's nice to be old.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Mandy's one of our favorites too. That's a great Mandy, the Panos Cosmatos
Oh yeah.
masterpiece. And
Mm-hmm.
you know something, dude? I enjoyed Allegoria, the Spider One. So it's like an anthology film, and
I need to see that.
it's I think it's still on Shutter, and I thought it was pretty decent actually. I thought it was all right.
Hmm. Okay. What's any word about his next feature film?
No,
Hmm. Okay.
but there was a thing that Spider One did on MTV, like I don't know, like 60 years ago, which it feels like at this point. It was called Death Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and it was no one saw it. No one does. No one has. There's no trace of this. It was one season, and
Mm.
it was like a reality show based, like a found, not almost like a found footage horror cop drama that took place in L.A.
2011. Okay. Yeah. I'm
Dude,
looking it up. Hmm.
I Andrew Hernandez, former Tombs drummer, is the one who told me about it. And initially, I was like, I don't know, dude, really, like on MTV. So I checked it out, loved it, and then got canceled because no one watched it because it was on MTV. No one even knew about it.
Hmm.
And that I would like to see get resurrected and maybe completed, but who knows? I feel like Rob Zombie's like standing in his way or something like that. Rob Zombie's his brother. You guys know that.
This is, yeah, Michael Cummings is yeah, Rob Zombie's brother, Robert Cummings. Yeah.
Yeah, you would
Okay.
think that Rob would help him out. You know what I mean?
Mm, holy crap. Yeah, I don't know how okay, I remember this show, but I didn't watch it, and I probably didn't know what it was all about. And I guess it sucks that it was good because I probably would have enjoyed it. Hmm.
Yeah, no one knew about it because it was on MTV, but it was actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, and what was popping on MTV in 2012? I think Jersey Shore. So there you go. Yeah. Hmm.
That brings us to this week's feature film. And of
Yeah.
course, we're going way back. We're going to well, not way back, but we're going to the 90s.
Hmm.
And if this is Trauma, directed by Dario Argento, and co-written by Argento, Ruth Jessup, and Ivan Klein. Now, interesting about Ivan Klein,
Hmm.
Ivan Klein, however you want to pronounce it. Ivan Klein is, of course, Ted Klein,
Yep.
the writer of weird fiction.
Hmm.
It's Ceremonies and the Dark Gods collection of short stories. Excellent, excellent, excellent material. So if you guys are not familiar with Ted Klein, check these out. He took Iban, of course, from the as his nom de plume,
Yep. Hmm.
from the Clark Ashton Smith Hyperborean Wizard, which if you guys are familiar with Lovecraft and all that, Clark Ashton Smith was a pen pal of his and Robert E. Howard's, and they're all contemporaries. And another one of those weird tales contributors. So if you like Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, check out Clark Ashton Smith as well.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at Ted Klein's bibliography, or select bibliography on Wikipedia, and he's got a whole bunch of short stories dating back, I mean, essentially from the 70s and 80s till about 2019. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, he's you know, a regular producer, but not
Mhm.
as prolific as you would think, actually.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
So yeah.
Now this movie is really interesting, and I'm just coming right out of the gate and say it. And I actually really like Dario Argento's Trauma. To me, it is one of the better mid late era Argento movies. And I'll just come out and say it. It is a top 10 Argento movie for me out of Argento's some 20 films at this point. I definitely put this as a top 10er, Mr. Hill. It is of note because it is the first movie of his where he worked with his daughter, Asia. Well, the first movie he directed where he worked with Asia. Of course, she has her role in Demons 2, which he produced, right?
Yeah.
Um, it is his first feature-length American movie. A few years prior, in like '90, his Two Evil Eyes is, I guess, it's a portion of a film, but it's not a full-length film. That was also shot in America. Those are the only two things he's ever shot in America. And honestly, it's a tremendously strong and interesting cast in this film, Mike. What do you think?
Oh, definitely, man. Some of my favorite, one of my all-time favorite actors is in it.
Hmm.
You know,
Um, as Mike said, it's from 1993. It was actually released in Italy in March of 93, and then in America in October of 93. It had a US VHS release in March of 94, which I recall because I rented this movie around 1994 from my local video store. When did you first see this movie, Michael?
this is one of those video search at Miami VHS bootleg tapes that I bought like back in the
Mm,
90s. It's
nice.
just because it was around the time like I was just looking through their catalog, and I was picking up Argento films, and Suspiria was one of them. This one, um, that was when I discovered, even it's Michele Suave's Della Morte Della More.
Right, right.
These are all VHS bootleg rips that were
Hmm.
available through Video Search of Miami, and
Hmm.
basically they got around getting well. Eventually, I'm sure the FBI caught up to them, but it was like a club that you belonged to, where we're sharing copies of laser discs or something, VHS copies of Laserdisc films. I don't know. There was some sketchiness to it. And you would send away for this thing, and they would send you a VHS tape with like a white label on it with the name printed on the side.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, back in like 94, I remember it had a red box cover, and it was edited and it was a shortened version, but it was widely available. And then by '05, Anchor Bay puts it out on DVD for the first time. And then in September of 2021, our buddies at Vinegar Syndrome put it on Blu-ray for the first time ever. That is what I watched. It's nice, slipcover, tons of cool extras, etc. But back to the cast. It stars Christopher Rydell as David Parsons. Interesting note about Christopher Rydell: barely made anything after this movie. Two other small credits after this: a movie called A Man Is Mostly Water, and a movie from 2000, and then another movie from 2010 called Queen of the Lot. Um, and this guy never acted again. Interesting. I will say, I think he was quite good in this movie as David Parsons.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. Uh, Asia Argento, of course, as Aura Petrescu. Famed actress Piper Laurie as Adriana Petrescu, of course, from many know her from Carrie as the mother. I believe she was Academy Award nominated actress, Piper Laurie.
Yeah,
Then
she's
we
a real
have,
deal.
mhm. Then we have a second Academy Award nominated actor in the movie, Frederick Forrest as Dr. Judd. People will remember him from a little movie called Apocalypse Now, Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
Uh, and then in '79, he was in the movie The Rose, where, yes, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. How about that? Then we have another excellent cult actor, James Russo, as Captain Travis. Um, then, in a small but very memorable role, Brad Dourif is in this as Dr. Lloyd. So on paper, yeah, this is pretty damn
Dourif is
cool.
one of my favorite all-time actors, man. I love Brad Dourif, man. And he's been in such a variety of different films, from Lord of the Rings to
Mhm.
Exorcist 3 to Trauma to
Yep.
an X-Files episode. Like the dude is like a workman, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Voice of Chucky, Child's Play, Blue Velvet, Dune. He's even in a movie I'd like for us to tackle one day, The Eyes of Laura Mars,
Yes.
the infamous Irvin Kershner, John Carpenter Giallo. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's shot in America. It's Asia's first movie with her dad. It's got a really interesting cast. Shot in, yeah, Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places. Budget of $7 million for 1993 money. That's no chump change in 1993, right?
Yeah, definitely a decent budget.
Yeah. Um, so I don't know. I think most Argento diehards have seen this movie, or I would hope they've seen this movie, as it is now readily available and widely available. But for a long time, it was not that readily available at all. Um, so I feel like it's a very understated, underrated American set giallo that Mike and I thought was ripe for covering on the show, huh?
And it can, comes a little in 93. So that's a little bit after the heyday of the Gialli.
It's way after. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So it's
I
like a
still,
throwback.
right. I'm still putting this into the Giallo blanket, even though it's after the heyday and it's shot in America, because of course we have an unknown black gloved killer and many and many possible suspects, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a Giallo film.
Mhm.
100%. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's got, all the things you mentioned. So for sure.
It's funny with a nice fresh rewatch for the show. There's like very distinct deep red callbacks in this movie. I don't know if you caught those.
See that?
Uh, and of course, the killer itself, number one, I thought was a little deep red esque, And then there's a scene with Brad Dourif in the elevator that recalls the infamous ending elevator scene at the end of Deep Red. No?
Interesting about the Brad Dourif elevator decapitation was that the killer had to resort to that because Brad Dourif's gold chain prohibited his initial attempt at decapitation.
That's right. Yes. Oh, another nice fun fact about this film is that it's got the special effects expertise of none other than Tom Savini. So it's got a lot going for it. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Great performances, across the
Yeah.
board.
hmm I will say though, and it's funny in the extras on the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, like Argento pretty much downplays uh Tom Savini's effects role in this movie. Although he did provide the effects, he was just like he was kind of like saying that he didn't have to do a lot, you know. But I mean, if there's nothing but severed heads in the movie, I would say you have to do a lot. But I've heard some people complain that they didn't like the look, like the overall looks of the special effects and the severed heads in this film. I mean, is that a little nitpicky, or is that a little kind of, I mean, 1993-esque looking, or I don't know. I mean, it didn't bother me, you know.
No, I mean it may be by today's standards, it might look a little
Right.
dated, but for
Mhm.
1993, I thought that was a pretty good looking severed head they had.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I think the effects. I mean, for the budget it had, and it's an independent film any way you shake it. I feel like unless it's you're talking about Argento's like first three or four movies or whatever, all these movies are independent, and it could only look so great. But in the early '90s, I don't know. I mean, the horror's like effects pinnacle in the early '90s might actually be like Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know?
Yes, and that was a big budget Hollywood film.
Yeah, like you can't even like begin to compare, you know? Another really cool thing about this movie is the score. Pino Donaggio, once again working with Argento. And another interesting thing is he has a tie-in with Piper Laurie because Donaggio did the music for Carrie as well. Um, what did you think of that like main theme, that Ruby Rain track? I actually really like it.
I mean, DiMaggio's score for the this entire film was great. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's iconic like his other work.
hmm It's got like this very almost like Dead Can Dancy kind of chanty choral, like I don't know, it's got like this kind of whole vibe to it. This main track that's played throughout the movie, and it kind of like opens and closes the film, and um I don't know, it kind of sticks in your head actually. And I added it to my Spotify because almost all of Pino Donaggio's music is on Spotify, which is fucking awesome.
When
um
did some kind of cool like vinyl release of it?
I don't think there is a Trauma vinyl. um but I think it would be ripe for release. In Pino Donaggio related news, Waxwork is putting out a body double vinyl, which I think I alerted you to, which
Yeah.
I want to get. That's fucking really cool. And they actually use the real deal artwork, like the body double movie poster, as the album cover, which is always a plus instead of like some new shitty drawing, which unfortunately a lot of these soundtrack labels do because getting the rights to like the covers is like sometimes obscene, obscenely priced. But thankfully they were able to use the real cover. Uh, no, Trauma would be awesome on vinyl. I would fucking buy that. I do not think there is one. I think there's a CD that is also probably long out of print, but I don't think there ever was a vinyl. Um, Now, getting to the plot of Trauma. Uh, it's basically about a troubled teenage girl, of course, played by the lovely Asia Argento, um, whose parents have been killed, and she's trying to find out who murdered her parents. I mean, that's kind of like the really long and short of it, the short and short of it. Um, But honestly, there's kind of like this whole kind of, I don't know, there are things at play that don't really come to light until later on, you know, like especially in relation to who the killer is and why the killer is killing, you know. Uh, it basically starts out with the murder of this chiropractic nurse who's running like an after hours, massage place, and she's killed by a black gloved shadowy presence who uses this very interesting device to behead her, which is like apparently, again, watching the extras on the Blu-ray, Dario made up that device, this electric powered wire garrote that dismembers heads. He came up with that. Of course he did.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like that. But yeah, it's what's interesting about the way they tell the story too is it's like it's very there's the plight of Aura. She's
Hmm.
like troubled girl, like she's basically runs away from an institution.
Hmm.
Uh, she's got various therapists and psychologists dealing with her. And then there's these murders which are happening, which seem to be running parallel. Like the murders are happening in a parallel to her storyline. You know what I mean? And there's this
Right.
time wave of people getting beheaded by some guy with black gloves. And then they
Hmm.
just sort of intersect. You know what I mean? The two storylines kind of collide at some point.
Yeah, like after that opening scene, we see Aura on like a bridge in Minneapolis. She's, apparently we learned that she's anorexic and she has some drug problems. She escaped from a psychiatric hospital and she's about to kill herself when she is stopped by David Parsons, played by Christopher Rydell. And he reveals to her that he himself is a recovering addict. And he manages to convince her to get off the bridge, and he takes her to a diner. He's trying to be like a good guy, and he actually is a genuinely good person. There's no kind of hidden agenda with him, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's yeah, I mean definitely as there's some altruism there, probably because he can relate to someone who has been dealing with struggling with drug addiction and that sort of stuff
Right.
and he wants to help her,
Hmm.
And then we see that his job, I'm not exactly sure what his job description is, but he's like an
Hmm.
illustrator that works for a news channel.
Right. A TV station or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, TV station. Yeah. So and he has this kind of relationship with the one of the anchor women.
Yes, they're banging.
Yeah.
Him and one of the anchor women are banging, but of course he manages to get Aura to stay at his house, because she has nowhere to go and she doesn't want to go back to the psychiatric institute. Interesting thing of note, there is one brief nude scene in this movie of Asia Argento, briefly topless. And apparently this movie was shot in August and September of 92 when she was 17 years old. And she's playing a 16-year-old, listeners. And the guy she is with is what, 30, I believe?
Probably, yeah. And
Yeah.
hey, this is European cinema, man.
Well, exactly. It's Minneapolis, by way of Minneapolis. But the interesting thing is Argento addresses this again in the extras, which if you're an Argento fan, in my opinion, you should try to own a nice Blu-ray of every one of his movies because you learn a shit ton about each movie in each one of these Blu-rays on the extras. He said that when the script was written, because there was a script that was done that before it was actually cast, it called for this one nude scene for whoever happened to be the actress. You know what I'm saying? And Dario brought it up to Asia again, who was 17 at the time, and she said, I don't care. I want to do it. I read the script. Let's do it. Who cares? That's his exact quote of what she said. And of course, in Italy, like, here's the thing: as America is very kind of, I guess, a bit more hung up on sex, and I think we've probably said this on the podcast. In Europe, in particularly, I would say Italy and France, like sex and sexuality is much less of a big deal, whereas violence is more of a big deal. And you'd be way more prone to see nudity on television in certain parts of Europe, but not see extreme violence. Whereas in America, you won't see almost any nudity on regular television, but you'll see a lot of violence on television. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's fucked up too. I think it's completely backwards in this country
Sure.
that it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally cool to like have a heavy duty violence, but God forbid you show like a titty or something like that, you know?
Yeah. And he also mentioned that in that particular shot, it was closed set and it was one, two, three, and everyone moved on. But yeah, she wanted to do it. That's what he said. And I believe him because that's the kind of Mike and I have followed her career a long time, and I've read many interviews with her, and I've seen tons of things she's been in, and I would believe Dario in that, saying that she probably wanted to do the scene. Would you?
100%.
Yeah. But again, going back to the fact that I feel like the main character David is a decent guy, he doesn't like he's not preying on her at all. Like he's not like lascivious or like he's not being a creep. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's definitely not being not trying to lurk up on her or anything like that. He's definitely trying to take care of her. Like he, gives her some
Mm-hmm.
cash to buy stuff at the farmer's market and
Mm-hmm.
make sure she's got food and that kind of thing, and that genuinely looking after her. However, his now the relationship with the anchor woman is definitely casual. Like it's not like
Yeah.
they're trying to have like span time together or anything like that. And
Right.
because even when she calls him up at like I don't know, like midnight or something, and she's like, it's like, oh yeah, what are you doing? And he's there's someone here, and it was almost just like it was just straight up like late night phone call, like to see what's going on.
Right. Right.
I
To
mean,
get some action. Yes.
yeah, to get some action.
Um, we're kind of glossing over the fact that how she kind of ended up with David ultimately. Um, she's the daughter of Romanian immigrants, and they were doing a séance. Her parents that night. Of course, Piper Laurie plays her mother. But it was, she's kind of like a fake psychic or whatever who holds séances for, you know, local rich people or whatever, and they're trying to find the identity of a serial killer known as the Headhunter. And of course, like shit hits the fan, and there's like this rainstorm, and windows break, and they've kind of like, I guess, like called on who the Headhunter is, and the mother says some interesting words during it that if you're really paying attention, you could almost kind of figure out what the hell is really kind of going on, one of those things.
Yeah.
Um, and like the mother runs out of the house, and the father goes chasing after her. And again, it's like this kind of like stormy night, and unfortunately, both the mother and father end up being killed by this mysterious, you know, metal garrote wielding maniac who severs both of their heads, right? And Aura kind of gets a brief look at him, but not really. Like what she sees is this figure holding up the heads that's kind of blocking its own face, which is kind of interesting, which of course plays later on in the movie. A little bit of your eyes kind of playing tricks on you of what you really see. So, her parents are dead and she has nowhere to stay, and that's kind of how she ends up staying with David, right?
Yeah, and I would probably mention that the Dr. Judd character who
Mm-hmm.
seems to be in pursuit of Aura.
Mm-hmm.
And
Played by Frederick Forrest.
yeah, yeah, and he becomes a major sort of figure in the end by the end of this film.
Yes. Um, Other interesting fun facts about this movie. Okay. Asia plays a girl who is stricken with anorexia. In real life, uh, part of the basis for this movie, in Dario's real life, Dario Nicolodi's daughter, Anna Ciroli, who was Dario's, stepdaughter and Asia's half sister, actually had anorexia. So that is where that came from. And at the very end of this movie, there's a very interesting kind of surreal moment where there's a girl dancing to reggae on a porch. You know that scene, Mike, at the very end?
Like when they
Well,
start rolling the credits, I thought that like it was
yeah,
kind of trippy. Like I dug it but it was really odd, you know.
right. Well, that is none other than Anna Saroli, Asia's half sister, Daria's stepdaughter. That's who that was. And on a very sad note, she died a year later in a motor scooter accident in Italy. So yeah, that girl, that pretty girl dancing at the end of this movie, was Asia's half sister, and she is no longer with us. And we've squeezed in yet another Argento daughter in this movie. There is a scene at the Faraday Clinic where David is looking for Aura, and the nurse that he talks to is none other than Fiore Argento. So Fiore Argento, Asia Argento, and the late Anna Saroli are all in this film. How about that, Mike?
Family affair.
Yes, family affair. But yeah, I know we jumped ahead a little with that end scene, but I love the hell out of that weird ending. You know what it reminds me of? That Inland Empire ending.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good call because I wouldn't have thought that, but yes, I can see that.
With the dancing, like it just kind of makes almost no sense, kind of that weird ending, right? Like, or like I'm trying to remember if it made sense, the ending of that movie, but
Hard to connect anything where there's like all those like dancing like hookers basically at the end of the
yes,
yeah.
yes. But yeah, I think very cool ending moment of this movie. But anyway, yeah, it's it's interesting to see all the daughters in the film. And then there's that infamous photo that's been on like social media, Instagram and Facebook, of like Daria and Dario and the three daughters, and this is them. So yeah. Um, moving right along, while she is with David, the killing keeps going on, and we're starting to see that all of these people that are being killed, all these women, are all nurses, right, Mike?
That's right.
And there is a sole male who is also involved, who is of course played by Brad Dourif, who is, as it turns out, is a doctor, right? He's Dr. Lloyd. So it's like slowly but surely things are kind of like getting pieced together as to, okay, so there is a connection between who is being killed and perhaps why they're being killed. And in also true Argento form, if you pay attention to your Argento movies, at some point there's an appearance of an animal or two, right, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
With this, is it a lizard? Is that, I mean, what is it, an iguana? What is
I
it?
would say it's a lizard. There's a lizard. Yeah.
It is a very interesting lizard that makes a few appearances. So, um, and there's a young boy also who lives next to apparently where the killer is keeping all the heads. And in the moonlight, he sees the heads in the window, and he's really afraid. What did you think of that whole little side story involving the young boy?
Interesting, but to be completely honest with you, the movie is 104 minutes long.
Hmm.
I might have cut that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's important because they end up back at that house. You know what I'm saying? And like the movie ends at that house that the boy is looking at. Okay,
I'm
so
not saying I would cut that completely, but trim a couple seconds off here and there. You know what I mean?
yeah, because there's a scene where the young neighbor boy who happens to live at the House of Horrors where the killer really lives, and we don't know who the killer is just yet. He kind of breaks into her house and he finds the killing machine, and he's chasing after this like lizard, and it's, I don't know, I thought it actually kind of made the movie a bit lighter. Not that it was like super dark and heavy, but it added some kind of like, I guess, comic relief, or just, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It didn't make me dislike it though, you know?
Yeah, it's cool. But like I said, I thought it was a little long-winded, just a touch.
Gabriel, that's the young boy.
Yeah, young kid.
Because it's his own pet lizard, right? That crawls into the open window, and it's like this whole little side story. But ultimately, the doctor Judd, who again is played by Frederick Forrest, gets kind of like, I mean, are you thinking he's the killer at any point, or not really?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah. Well, and I think the viewers are supposed to be thinking that as well. He is pretty obsessed with Aura, and it just, as you're watching the film, of course, you can make the case for, oh yeah, it's him. But I felt like that was, I guess, a little too easy. Um, and he kind of gets like pinned as the killer, right?
Yeah.
After that car accident.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like a
And
red herring. You know what I mean?
oh, it's a total, Giallo red herring. Uh, because basically they kind of, David and Aura are kind of like unfolding a story with the victims, and they find this postcard with photos and how all these women are kind of tied to each other, and but as they're finding out all this information, the body count is kind of piling up. um but yeah, Dr. Lloyd is definitely a suspect, because, well, he's not dead, number one, and he has a little bit of an axe to grind, and he's obsessed with Aura. He knew the parents, right? So, there, there, there are things pointing to him being the killer. Um, and he does, I don't know, like he attacks Aura, and he flees away in the car, and then like the car crashes, and all the heads come flying out of the trunk of the car, right?
Right. And you're like, obviously, this is the guy who did the killing. Yeah. But then again, if you're watching, you know that what kind of movie you're watching.
Mhm.
You know,
E-
you have
Exactly.
doubts.
You do have your doubts, but the police, like James Russo, I mean, James Russo is like this cool cult actor. He's kind of like, doesn't really have much to do in this movie, right? Like he doesn't really like do much. Like he's supposed to be like this tough guy cop. He's not in a lot of the movie, and he shows up kind of after the fact a lot, and you know, like uh basically, as a viewer, you kind of think that maybe the doctor was the killer, but if you're watching it at home, you're like, oh no, there's 25 minutes left of the movie. He's obviously not the killer.
Right.
Like that's always a really good way, if you're watching something on a Blu-ray or whatever, of knowing if a movie is indeed wrapped up or not, by just checking just how much is left. And if you've
Yep.
got like 20 plus minutes or 20 minutes, then you could have almost literally an entire movie left to go. Would you agree?
That's true.
Um, so after everyone thinks everything is wrapped up, David has kind of, Aura kind of goes missing, and David has lapsed back into his addiction, and he's lost his job, and he's kind of roaming the streets of Minneapolis, and you kind of feel bad for him because, again, he's a good dude who kind of really didn't do anything wrong. He just got kind of wrapped up in this crazy girl and her crazy family and these crazy killings. Um, but as he's kind of in like a stupor, passed out in the streets, he sees this figure walk past with a bracelet that Aura owned, right?
Yes.
Like this woman wearing the bracelet. Uh, and then he kind of follows that woman, and he breaks into the home of, sure enough, what a surprise, right next to where Gabriel lives, where the killings took place. And he sees all this like nursery set up with the name Nicholas on everything, and a decapitated, infant doll. And then all of a sudden, uh, lo and behold, Piper Laurie appears and knocks him unconscious. That is because Piper Laurie apparently never died. And, spoiler alert, people, the movie's 30 something years old. Piper Laurie is indeed the killer. And as it turns out, she had an axe to grind because many years prior, while pregnant, and I guess while Aura was, a young girl at the time, I would imagine, because this would have been her younger brother, Nicholas. Um, I guess the worst doctors and nurses ever were about to help give birth to her child. At some point, the baby gets decapitated by a scalpel as she's giving birth to it, which
Dude,
is a little,
it's so preposterous, but yeah, it's great.
it is rather preposterous. Let's be honest. and she's screaming like a banshee and going crazy, and instead of course, upholding the law of being a doctor and a nurse, and trying to save lives and take care of people, they decide to bring Piper Laurie in to get shock treatment so that she'll forget everything. But of course, the other aspect of this is that the husband is also there at the time, and he's totally okay with the wife getting shock treatment, which is why the father dies along with the doctor and the nurses, because he was in on the quote killing of the baby and was okay with her getting the shock treatment. And the movie basically turns into a tale of revenge, huh, Mike?
Yeah, it's a revenge tale, and but with those awesome Italian plot twists,
Of
and
course.
those like completely awesome, awesomely unbelievable elements, like the baby being decapitated and all that, but it's great. That's why you watch movies, like you watch these Giallo movies for this reason.
Oh yeah, I mean, the electroshock treatment was to make her erase her memory of Nicholas and the botched birth and death and all that, and I guess it worked for a little while until it did not work anymore, and she remembered and staged this whole thing out to kill her husband and kill all the people at fault. So she has Aura and David in the basement, kind of chained up or whatever, and our little buddy Gabriel, the neighbor, has managed to find his way back into the house, and he has stolen the instrument of terror, which has been used throughout the movie. And in this interesting scene where like a beam in the basement has been ripped apart, so it reveals a hole in the ceiling. Right as Piper Laurie is about to kill the two of them, a little Gabriel reaches down and beheads his creepy neighbor. Um, Again, deep red esque moments, because Piper Laurie almost resembles the mom who was the killer in Deep Red, a little bit at least. Um, and then, like I said, it also reminded me of Deep Red because there's that also kind of uh, mystery, red herringish ending with the painting, where in reality the woman's face was there and it wasn't the painting. And in this killing scene in Trauma, she wasn't holding up two heads; she was holding up one head, and the other face was her own because she was the killer.
Yeah, definitely. It was yeah, that's pretty masterfully done at the end.
Yes, and it's again, that's why you kind of watch these movies from Italian directors, because I don't think an American would have even thought of something that cool.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
that interesting, right?
Yeah,
It it's
that's
very
very European, very Italian. Yeah. I also have that Severin, not Severin, Vinegar Syndrome version of this play too. I remember there was that. I think I bought it on one of those Black Friday sales back when it came out.
mhm. Yeah. Um, and the movie ends there. Uh, but I feel like again, as the movie's ending, the camera pans like across the street from the house, and there's a reggae band playing this song, and there's this girl, this pretty girl dancing, and it just kind of ends. It's got like this, like the crawl of the credits, and then it cuts to the theme song of the movie that plays at the beginning for Pino Donaggio, and it's got like this kind of ethereal, kind of weird, moody, dreamy setting, right?
Yeah, the ending for sure. It's like you were saying, it almost has that Inland Empire vibe to it, which I didn't pick up on originally, but yeah, it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and another little cool fun fact is that apparently to give this movie a bit of a dreamy look, Dario had smoke a lot in the background that the viewer really couldn't see too much, but it was a little more visible for the actors and actresses on set. Like he said, he smoked out a lot of scenes, both inside and outside. Isn't that interesting? Hmm. That's why, man. Like, see, some people like to clown on Dario and saying that he hasn't made a good movie in so long, and his last great movie was Opera or whatever. And I just feel like with a fresh rewatch of something like this, that is completely untrue. I would say movies like Trauma, Stendhal Syndrome, and Sleepless are three essential Argento movies. And I would say the three movies that probably round out his top 10 like must see films, Mike.
Definitely Stendhal syndrome for sure. That would be in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I really am partial again, like I said, to this movie, Sleepless, Non Ho Sono, and Stendhal Syndrome. Uh, Stendhal Syndrome might be the best of those three, actually. I need to actually watch that one again, too. Um, I remember that actually managed to hit theaters in the city. I remember I was supposed to see it one day and I didn't fucking get to see it. I was so pissed. But you know, like I said, some people kind of write off certain eras of Argento as being like, oh, whatever, they suck, or shitty, and not essential. But I don't know. I completely view this quite differently now, especially learning about the backstory of the plot of this movie. And I like the fact that all three sisters are in the movie, and I never even really knew that before. You know, sometimes it just when you learn more about a film that you're maybe a little more on the fence on, and then you watch it again, it just it makes you appreciate it a little more.
Definitely. So what would you give this as a score, Mike?
Okay, I was struggling with this. Okay, because it's not look, it's not his absolute best, right? Like I said, it kind of rounds out a top 10, you know? And I was fluctuating between two scores, but I am landing on 3.5 instead of 4. Because I think 4 might be a little too high. Okay, 3 is see it. 3.5 is see it. It's actually really good. That's my that's how I view my 3.5. See it. It's good. It's better than its reputation. And I actually, yeah, I really enjoyed watching this again. You know, like it almost was a 4, and I almost feel like I should give it a 4, but I'm going with 3.5.
Give it a 4, and I'll tell you
Okay,
why. Yeah.
this.
I mean, it's maybe within the canon of his other films,
Hmm.
it rounds out the top 10, but as a film, it's a 4. You know what I'm trying to say?
You know what? All right, I'm going with 4. We're
Yeah, I mean,
both giving it 4s.
I
Because 4
mean,
was my
definitely my top Argento films would be like, Suspiria,
hmm
Opera, Stendhal
hmm
Syndrome,
hmm
Tenebrae, like stuff like
hmm
that. This would fall on the lower half of that spectrum, but as a
Right.
just a straight up film, it's a 4.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's better than its reputation. Look, okay, straight up. This is better than Dracula 3D. It's better than Giallo. It's better than Mother of Tears. It's better than Card Player. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's better than the Phantom of the Opera. It's of the best of the latter era. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, is it better than Dark Glasses, Mike Hill?
Yeah, Dark Glasses. I was quite fond of that movie, but
Yes. I
I I,
feel like it might be a little better than
I
Dark.
was going to say I would put it above Dark Glasses.
Yes. Okay. Right. That's where I would say like a Dark Glasses is a 3.5er, and this is definitely like a 4. It is better than Dark Glasses. It is. But Dark Glasses is better than the three is better than Dracula, Giallo, and Mother of Tears. Um, I almost want to see Mother of Tears again. I mean, I saw it in the theater, and with Yoshitomi, and we were just like, "Oh my God, this is really bad." Um, but that was in '07. That was like a long time ago. Um, just to see if it's as bad as I remember. You know what I'm saying? Like Dracula 3D is bad. I saw it. It's not even really worth seeing again. Giallo is pretty fucking bad. It's another one I saw. I don't think I want to waste my time with again. Uh, Mother Tears. I think I'm gonna fuck with it again. Did you like Mother of Tears?
Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
All I'm going to say is, why don't you let me know what you think about it when you watch it again?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then maybe I'll watch it again for sure.
I mean, you know, like I said, when you watch these extras, folks, and it's a director you really love and care about. It just gives you a totally kind of like different take on things, you know. I feel like Dario was in a very weird place when he made this movie, and it's kind of there in the movie. Um, and the fact that like the daughter that he based the character loosely on ended up dying a year later. Thankfully, not due to anorexia, but she died a year later, and she's the dancing girl at the end. Wow, it just kind of it makes the movie very special in a way. It makes it very like holy shit, you know?
Yeah, there's a little
Hmm.
bit of a backstory there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. She died in this motor scooter incident in '94, actually, and she was young, you know. But yeah, and now of course Dario Nickelodeon is no longer with us. I mean, you know, I love Dario, man. He's always I'm always rooting for Dario.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And
Yes,
yeah, that was trauma, man. We got to do more. We got to do more Argento films. You know,
we
I
do
think
have to do more.
yeah,
Yes,
there's a plethora of his other movies we haven't talked about yet, so we got to hit more.
I agree, and I think the listeners would appreciate it, and of course the many Dario fans would also appreciate it. Yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know what you think of Trauma, and thank you for your support, Necromaniacs.
Take care, guys, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye bye
Bye
now.
bye.
Destination.